from my bed to the floor. 5, 6, 7, 8. Will today be rough or will today be great? 9, 10, 11, 12. Lately I've been going through hell. 13, 14, 15, 16. Today's the day. Are you coming? Are you I'm sick of being normal, I'm sick of being average, I'm sick of being mortal, I'm about to be a savage. I see a lot of things that I want, I will have them. I got a new mindset that I just established. I'll march through the cold with the nails on the pavement. I'll shovel that coal just to get out the basement. My story will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold, they will watch in amazement.
Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
Foot up on the pedal, pushing hard to the metal. Make a deal with the devil, channel rage through my vessel into something that is special. Energy of a rebel, going up a level. I just wanna be greatness, I could feel changes. Turn a new page and tie up my laces. I will be the bravest, break out of my cages. I will not be nameless, I will not be aimless.
Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
You are now live with the Locked In Podcast. As always, your hosts for the evening, Steve Ushler and George Menchai. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, make sure that you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to turn notifications on to stay up to date with the most current personal development tips and sports analysis. With that being said, welcome to the podcast and enjoy the show.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast. Sorry, I was muted there for a sec, but welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 205, as we are back on this Thursday evening, and in the Philadelphia area, or at least this East Coast side here, like the tri-state. It's beautiful weather outside, but as that rain's kind of pouring in, let's pull up and let's enjoy this podcast episode here tonight. So I'm actually going to be riding solo on this episode. I did list Richwood's tentative in the promotion descriptions tonight. So there was no guarantee that my other host was going to be able to hop in here tonight. He's a part of the team here. But it's all good. I'm going to keep this episode relatively brief, 30 to 40 minutes. And what we're talking about tonight, if you haven't seen the promo, is emotional incarceration as it pertains to men. We're also going to mainly talk about the comprehensive man, walk through some of the principles. Essentially, if you guys have not checked it out, Mr. Jason Wilson himself, author and speaker, has a book. It's called The Man the Moment Demands. And a lot of this stuff comes right from the book if you've read it or listened to it. But ultimately, that's where some of these terms come from. But you don't have to have read the book to kind of walk through this tonight. These are kind of things that are relatively taboo that we don't talk about as men. You know, everybody is the hyper, men are always taught to be hyper masculine, all these types of things. And masculinity is actually a very good thing. Men should absolutely have masculinity. But it's when it gets to that level of everybody likes to frame the word toxic masculinity, but I would actually say it's unhealthy masculinity, because that's actually a thing. When men can't essentially express their emotions, they can't be open, they can't be vulnerable. It's tough. And I'm not going to lie, throughout a majority of my life, I've much been that way. Very transparent here on the mic when I talk to you all. Very much that mindset is we talk alpha this, alpha that, and we have to be hard and we have to suppress everything. I think there is a balance, because if you suppress everything all the time, that is very unhealthy, and it leads to implosion. It leads to depression in men's mental health, a lot of other different issues that can come from this. Suicide rates in men are up. And these are the types of things that ultimately happen when we don't have the outlet to do this. So I encourage you men out there that if you're going through these types of things where you feel like you have to be extremely rigid, very closed off, I would encourage you to actually push those boundaries. Maybe it was something in your life that led you to feel dismissed to the point where you felt like you couldn't open up your emotions. Maybe you had a father or just role models in your life that told you to suck it the fuck up and just, keep your emotions at bay. I would challenge you not to do that. And I know it kind of rewires all your thinking and everything like that, but this is what kind of entails the comprehensive man, a man that can display healthy masculinity, but also balance it with showing emotion. I would actually say that is actually more masculine than anything, because a lot of men, sorry, my phone is like going off here. Let me silence this and put this on D&D, guys, because this is crazy. Yeah, you get on a stream and the messages start flooding, and I have them annoyingly on my watch. So my watch is just vibrating. So let me just silence this real quick. I'm sure we've all been there, right? D&D, let me lock in there. That's my fault for not even doing that. But ultimately, the discussion here is most men are taught to put up walls, taught to do these things. And maybe it's because people in your life have failed you ultimately. Maybe you haven't had friends where you can open up and have that outlet. Maybe you've had parental figures in your life that have dismissed when you bring up emotions. So like, you're a man, you shouldn't do these things. It's a very outdated way of thinking. Or maybe you just have been in a relationship with a partner who essentially made you feel weak for opening up. And I'm going to tell you right now, in any of those relationships, whether it be friendships, real friends will allow you to open up. I'm going to keep it real with you right now. When you have healthy friendships, those friends will allow you to open up. When you're in a healthy relationship, your woman isn't going to make you feel less than a man for coming to her and being vulnerable, But there is a difference between, I think there is a such thing as overly emotional for sure. So that's why I say there's such thing as balance. But just being vulnerable, being collected, being calm, and being able to express your needs and express your how you're feeling is healthy. It's healthy. And people who are strong, supportive people in your life aren't going to run. It's also okay. Like, you know what I mean? Some men, they cry in silence, right? They don't really show emotion to a lot of people. And it's what kind of keeps us, this is where the phrase emotional incarceration comes. We're incarcerated mentally as men because we can't express what we need to express, and people, if you do, you're considered, like a lot of society uses alpha males and weak this or that. I'd actually say it makes you more masculine because, to be honest, you're doing something that's very uncomfortable, how you've been taught not to, and it kind of feels comfortable for us to keep everything stuffed down. That actually keeps us comfortable. It keeps us in our comfort zone. So I would actually say it's more masculine to actually fight the grain there and actually go against that. But ultimately tonight, what I'm going to walk through is there's 10 principles that ultimately come with being a comprehensive man. And we'll dive a little bit more into emotional incarceration. So with that being said, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, and I know we've seen some new subscribers come in this week, but if you are watching and you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell icon to turn those notifications on. Because like I said, here at Locked In Nation, at the Locked In Podcast, we release content every single week unless we're on like some type of hiatus or break, which usually be like a week. But anyway, majority of the week's Thursdays, we're going to be releasing content either related to, overwhelmingly, the majority is personal development, but we do implement some sports in there too, depending on the time of the year or what we have going on here in the Philadelphia region. So if you like Philly sports, if you like personal development and personal growth, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And hit that bell. Notifications, important. You don't want to miss these episodes. I am excited to tell you that if you haven't seen on the Facebook and Instagram pages, if you're not a part of those pages, we do have a pretty exciting calendar coming up the next 3 weeks. We had to shuffle a couple episodes around. But I will just walk through the calendar with you guys real quick. We're going to be covering next week. It is going to be an episode surrounding women's importance when it comes to, support in the household, nurturing, growth, growing together with their men in the household. Whether you're a wife, whether you're a mother, very important. We walked through, me and Rich a few weeks ago, we walked through the man side of it, right? Leading, different things. And I'm not saying women don't lead either, but I'm just saying, the men's side of it, how they grow through faith and in the household and Christianity and just kind of growing through God, living life with intention every single day, right? Kind of ties into tonight's episode a little bit. We walk through that together, me and Rich. We're going to both be moderating next week's episode. We're going to have about 3 to 4, maybe 5 different women on here. A few of them who are married, and a couple who have kids, children. So essentially, and there's also going to be, 1 or 2 that might not have children or be a wife, and that's okay too. We just ultimately want to get perspective from that side of it. So we're going to have a pretty nice panel next week. I'm excited for that episode. Because you women out there, you hold us men down. You are supportive for us through hard times. You play a vital role, nurturing and support inside the household. And we really, really appreciate that. We might not always vocalize it, but we heavily appreciate it. So this is a shout out to y'all women. So if you're interested in that episode, that's next week. In 2 weeks, we have our good friend, Matt Lee, certified nutrition coach. He's been on the podcast about 3 other times. He's coming back. Summer shred. It's in full effect right now, guys. Get your cardio in, get your weight training in, and get your healthy, clean eating in. Get your macros. And we are going to be talking everything nutrition, importance of nutrition, all these types of things. Matt's probably going to walk you through his program as he typically does. Like I said, summer shred's in full effect. We are T minus 90 days, counting down to summer now. So I'm excited to get Matt back in the building. We heavily preach fitness and, physical fitness, but also, mental fitness too on this channel. So we're going to go through all that next week. In 2 weeks. And then in 3 weeks, we will have After Hours Part 7 coming through. So the ultimate topic on that will be revealed as we get closer. But it's 3 weeks out, so we're still kind of crafting the episode. But I'm going to have a solid female and male guest panel for that one. So stay tuned. Last week, Dwayne Ivey, my guy, came on. We talked about brotherhood. We talked about mentorship. We talked about personal development books and personal growth books. We a little bit talked about our journey, caught up through the process. Dwayne's a solid dude. He's on his own journey here. Proud of that guy. Just want to give a shout out to Dwayne. If you guys didn't check out that episode, it was 204, YouTube, Facebook. You can also check it out on Spotify or Anchor as well, the listening audio platforms. So I know I'm rambling here. I'm just walking through the motions here. If you see something you like tonight, comment in. Appreciate it. If you're catching on the rebroadcast, Wi-Fi kind of was a little shaky there. If you're watching on the rebroadcast still, comment in. I will get back to you. Yes, enjoy the podcast, guys. All right, so enough of my rambling here for the last 5-10 minutes. Time to hop into this episode here tonight. So, guys, I'm going to walk you through the principles of the comprehensive man. So, like I said, this is Mr. Jason Wilson himself, Jason Wilson. His book called Why am I blanking here? The Man, the Moment Demands by Jason Wilson. I actually have the hard copy right here. Also have the audio book because anybody who knows me knows I'm an auditory learner, mainly when I'm on the go. I do like to sit down and read a good book, though, sometimes as well. So I got both copies here. Essentially, this walks through the 10 different characteristics. So the characteristics at a glance are the fighter, the provider, the leader, the lover, the nurturer, the gentleman, the friend, the husband, the father, the son. Now, even in those, right, you hear some things that are like, oh, that's a feminine quality, or like, oh, that's a masculine quality. You hear leader, right? And you think men are like the leaders. Nah, men are definitely leaders, and you have to be a leader, I think, inside your household as a man. I think, but also women can be leaders too, right? They lead by example a lot of times too. But, especially, they in times when they have to, they take lead sometimes. Relationships and marriages are just a counterbalance, right? We are here as a team. You sit there and you have everybody has maybe certain roles, but there might be some times where the one person has to step into the other person's role. I think in relationships, those conversations are important. You have those conversations, but ultimately, to know what each other's role is, what you bring to the table, to understand. But there's going to be times where you have to dip in. Say like the wife is working late, one night, and the husband has to step in to cook. That's just one example. But I'm saying, like, it's a team effort. There's going to be times where one person's lacking and the other person has to balance that, and the other person's lacking, the other person has to balance that. That's ultimately what it is. It's a team effort coming together. Two people who love each other. But like I said, you hear the word leader, you hear man, but then you hear the nurturer. Oh, that's a female quality. It's like, no, this is kind of what being a comprehensive man is all about. That's why these principles are here. Jason Wilson, through this book, he provides a great description of each of these. So to understand a little bit more about that, let me just pull up Facebook here, make sure we ain't got. Let me just see the messages here. My bad, guys. I want to pull up the groups here so I can have any comments that come in. Pull up the groups here. My guy Ray, he said, tuned in, brother. Haircut looking good, bro. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, man, I tried, man. I got the part on the side and stuff. Yeah, man. Everybody always some dude I saw. I'm usually hitting the trails and stuff. Some dude the other day, he's like, "Oh, you just got a haircut." I was like, "I get a haircut like every 2 weeks." It's just I just like to try to look good. Some people might think it's excessive. I know some people that get haircuts every week. Hey, teach your own, right? Appreciate you, brother. Good looking out. Yeah. So those are the 10 characteristics of the comprehensive man. I'll walk through some of them with you here. So some of the ones that really resonate with me as I've kind of gone through the book, when it comes to the fighter, it's kind of understanding when, kind of picking and choosing your battles. So essentially what comes with the fighter, and I'm not going to walk through every principle because I'm not, like I said, it's going to be about 35 to 40 minutes this episode. So I'm not going to have time to walk through every single principle. And we can definitely cover more in another episode. And I would like to do this when I got some of my hosts with me. But I'll walk through some of the ones that have really spoke to me. So the fighter, essentially the fighter, it's picking and choosing your battles. This is what a lot of people don't understand about the fighter. I noticed this with people inside my own life. And at a younger age, definitely not in recent years, I caught myself getting caught up with some of these things. So the fighter is someone who knows when to fight and when to just kind of sometimes let things go. So a lot of men think that to be a man, you got to be hyper masculine. You have to, I'll just keep it real. They have to be like, like when they see some dude look at them a certain way, what the F are you looking at? Like they have to essentially prove their manhood to somebody who probably never met a day in their life before. They think that's hyper masculine to sit there and pick fights with people. And it's actually the opposite effect. You ever hear the saying that the person with the loudest bark is usually the softest person? So it's essentially, if you need to feel the need to be loud improve your manhood and all these other types of things, you're probably dealing with an internal struggle, ultimately. I'd actually say that's probably 90% of the cases is you're dealing with an internal struggle. You're either not happy with yourself, emotionally, like I said, emotional incarceration. These are the types of things that happen when we can't have these conversations with people, when we can't have these deeper conversations. This is where emotional incarceration comes in. So really understanding when to fight and when not to fight. We talked about this actually on one of the After Hours episodes that, let's give an example. It was, say you're out with your woman and a man, approaches or makes your woman feel threatened or something, or, you feel in an unsafe environment. What's the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to leap at the person and just start throwing punches at the person? No, right? You're going to do something to, I would hope not anyway. You can have a conversation with somebody and just give them a warning and then just understand, when to fight. Now, if the person doesn't back off, now is when you gave them the warning and now you have to step in for defense. But I think a lot of times, you see, that's a situation where you're protecting your woman, so you got your kids with you, and you know that if you have to fight, you can defend your family, you can defend your woman, your wife, whatever. You know that you can step in. But there's sometimes people that just will fight fights that aren't even their fight to fight. Like, it's just, they make up scenarios to try to prove something. I think knowing how to defend yourself, your family, very important. When this book says, the moment demands. When the moment demands it, if there is a serious threat, if there is. But a lot of times, men will pick fights that weren't even there to begin with. They'll think somebody eyeballed them a certain way, and they'll say something to somebody. I just see, I even see, like, you know what I mean? Like, men who argue with just not even that, but like, these are the same type of men that argue with a woman the moment that a woman rejects them. They get pissed off, they get emotional, and that's bad emotion, like sitting there and flipping out and getting angry because they can't take rejection. I see these types of men, unfortunately, all the time. I've known a few throughout my life. And to be honest, like, back in the day, when I was younger, not in terms of like the rejection side of it, but I would feel that, like, I would get a little aggressive sometimes with people because I wasn't truly happy with who I was internally. I will say, out of these principles, this is not something in recent years I am far outgrown that part of my life. I learned that a long time ago that, you pick and choose your battles. You know how to defend when you need to, but you don't start those type of things. But there's definitely other areas, especially in recent years, that I've lacked in for sure. But this area resonated with me just because I think of my younger self, how I was, the tough guy that used to mouth off and talk. High school, I remember, when I was in high school, constantly, talking shit or running my mouth. And, I'm not going to lie, sometimes it ended me up in some pretty shitty situations for doing that, realistically. I look at my younger self and I just want to smack myself over the head. Like, Steve, what the fuck were you thinking, bro? Like, but it's just realistically, that's how you kind of understand growth, now versus then, right? But I see this, unfortunately, with men who are in their 30s, even men in their 40s. I see this in grown men consistently. This is an emotional incarceration, guys. This is what we're fighting here. We feel like we need to prove something to society and all these types of things. And at the end of the day, you really don't. Life is so much better, especially in the sense of the fighter, when you can be cool, calm, and collected. And just understand, if things pop off, I know when to step in. I'm going to step in. And I'm going to protect mine, whether that's my family, my wife, my children, my friends, my brothers that are around me. I'm going to step in when I need to. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to escalate shit either. There's situations that you really don't need to put yourself in. And a lot of men, unfortunately, do. So that's the fighter side of it, really just balancing your emotion and balancing your call to action, when you know you need to step in. So really fighting, you know what I mean? You got to kind of channel that testosterone, guys. The provider, the leader, the lover, and nurturer, gentleman, the friend. Friendships as well, guys. This is an important one, and I want to touch on this. When it comes to friendship, holding friends accountable, man. This is a big one. We just had me and my guy last night. We hit a workout. My brother on here, Rob, that's my boy. We hit a workout last night. We were having some conversations. Not going to get into all of our conversations, but one of the things that came up, we were talking about holding friends accountable. This is important, guys. You have to be able to hold each other accountable. This comes from men and women, I would say, to be honest, because, women get a bad rap that women are never accountable, which is definitely not true. It's just, a lot of times it's hurt men who are speaking out saying women are never accountable, but it's definitely not true. There's a lot of men and women that are not accountable. I know a lot of men who are not accountable, unfortunately, or they're accountable some of the time. But if you're one of my friends, I will call shit out on y'all sometimes. And, sometimes we don't like it. But I expect my brothers to call me out, too. If I'm fucking up, I'm doing something shitty, I did something in a situation, I'm like, yo, bro, you fucked up. You fucked up, bro. I need friends around me that I can trust and are going to call me out. Because you know what? Then I know when they're saying respectful shit towards me, I know for a fact that they're telling the truth. They're not sitting here lying to me. They're not, you know what I mean? You don't, like, when you call it out. And one of the things is, I'm not going to lie, I've struggled, in the past in friendships when I was younger, not doing that. And I'm not going to lie, even in relationships, not calling shit out, as I need to call it out in a loving way, of course, not in a dickhead way where I'm like, what the fuck are you, you know what I mean? That's not healthy conflict resolution. You call it out in a loving and respectful way when you talk to somebody. But hey, boundaries are boundaries, and you get to call shit out sometimes. Life gets hard sometimes. So, but friendships, the same thing. You have to call out accountable behavior. But friendships, we help each other grow, right? I'm just speaking on the men's side here because it's mainly the comprehensive man tonight. But as men, this is what we do, right? Iron sharpens iron. This is one of the things that has been a theme in my life the last couple of weeks. Iron sharpens iron. So we're here to help each other grow as friends. We're here to check in with one another, see how our goals are going. I do it regularly with some of my friends. They know I check in regularly. Like, yo, bro, how you feeling today? Scale 1 to 10, how you feeling? Yo, bro, heard you were on this fitness journey. How you doing with your fitness goals? Hey, man, heard you were looking for that promotion. How's life going, man? We just check in, and it's not not a way to call people out. Sometimes they're gonna be honest. Hey, man, I had a little bit of a mental lapse last couple of weeks. I'm gonna get back on it this week. You know what I mean? It's just essentially us keep it in check with one another and just keep honestly, that's all it is. Sorry, my screen acted weird for a second. But I was gonna lie, kick me out here. But essentially that's all it is. We're keeping each other in check as friends. Iron sharpens iron. Let's sit there. Let's help each other grow, because I'm not gonna lie, it's unfortunate sometimes you outgrow people, and there's people in your life that are very stagnant. And sometimes they come for your advice, but every single time they come to you for advice, they never take your advice, and they continue fucking up. I'm talking about as far as staying stagnant to getting locked up and being in jail. I've had friends from all different walks of life, and it's unfortunate, but sometimes you realistically have to distance yourself from specific friends. And it's nothing against them, and you can see the good in that person deep down. They have a good heart and a good soul, but unfortunately, they have to figure it out for themselves. I say this with anything. It can be family, relationships, friendships. You can't fix people, but you can be there for support. So you can be there to support those around you. But at the end of the day, the ultimate action comes down to that person. Just like if I was doing something shitty, people could say I was in a shitty, part of my life, or just a down part of my life. People could support me, but if I continuously don't take action to get out of that spot of my life, nobody can fix me. It's up to me to do that. The toughest battle is inside our mind. Inside our mind is who we fight with every single day. So there is going to be no battle that's bigger than our mind. So that's a little bit on the friendship side of it. These last three all kind of resonate with me. I'll try to keep it short, but we have the husband, the father, and the son. I am not a father at all. I don't have any kids that are children that are biologically mine, but I have had the pleasure of, having nieces and nephews in my life and having children in my life that, I was able to, essentially help be there, support and raise and stuff like that. But it is a blessing, man, to, be able to be a strong role model for children in your life. And if you biologically have children too, you understand this. There's nothing better than being one of my biggest goals in life is to be a father, to be able to have children that I can raise and just be able to help shape my son or my daughter. I just think it's one of the best things that you can have in life is to have this legacy. And guess what? If you don't like children, it doesn't make you a bad person either. I'm just saying, like, the father, that really resonates with me. The relationship I have with my dad and the relationship I've had with other children that have been in my life, which has been an absolute blessing. It's just that's why you have to be emotionally disciplined, though. You have to be emotionally stable as a father in children's life too, because guess what? If you're emotionally incarcerated and say you take negative patterns from your family and you bring it towards your child, it can really have a negative effect on your children as they get older, for sure. That's why they say, mothers are obviously very important to their children. You need to have a mom in your life that can nurture and be there, support and encourage, which is great. But I will say, a child that lacks a father figure, they struggle throughout life, right? This is very special. This is actually in both genders. I would say, women a lot of times, right, when they claim the term daddy issues, they grow up without a father or a stable father figure in their life. They can definitely have internal struggles of their own, being able to see how a loving male, role model in their life is. They struggle, in relationships going forward. They struggle because all they know is toxicity, or maybe the man maybe they didn't have a father that was even in their life. So they really understand that, like, a woman can only depend on herself. You see what I'm saying? On the son side of it, a lot of the feminine energy being only raised by women, they don't really know how to grow up as a comprehensive man. They don't know how to lead. They don't know how to, essentially be men, be able to provide, to learn how to, be there, be able to have meaningful conversations with their children. They don't learn these things. We don't have a healthy father figure in life. So definitely important there. The husband too, guys. They say in the Bible, husbands, love your wives. Wives, submit to your husbands. I really do believe that the husband leads in the household, and it's not just lead like as an I'm in charge, you do this, you do that. Because I think a lot of women, they start to believe that a lot of times that I don't want no man. They'll say, I don't want no man leading my life, or I don't want this. It doesn't have to be a control thing. How I see it is, I think men lead by example. So if I hear a lot of guys who and I've seen this just on podcasts and literally different things, and I've seen these things. Men will complain, my woman doesn't do this or my woman doesn't do that. But a lot of times it's like, what are you doing for your woman too? Like, you have to kind of understand, are you providing her with that love, that support? Are you leading by example? Are you being the best man that you can be? Having that positive attitude, because if you just have a negative attitude towards your woman consistently, that energy, I really do believe, is going to rub off on her too. I'm not saying there's not bad people in this world, because there obviously is bad. There obviously are bad people too, but sometimes we really do have to look internally at what we're doing, and really take accountability for that. Because I really do believe a lot of the times, if you like certain things, lead by example. And guess what? She'll likely follow suit too. Especially if she loves and respects you, she will. So that's why the Bible says, love your wives, right? Show them love, show them unconditional love and support. Be there through the low times, because guess what? That's what love is. I don't know about y'all, but I mean, if you're getting married, marriage is it for me. I'm just keeping it real. If I'm getting married, marriage is all in. I think today a lot of people just go into marriage and they're like, if it doesn't work out, I'll get divorced. Divorce should never, ever be an option that's even in your mind where you're getting married. Obviously, infidelity, different types of things can, cause divorce. And I don't advocate for somebody to stay with someone in those situations. We've all done shitty things in our lives, right? Or what I would also say is if the other person is not willing to fight with you. So it takes two people to hop in the ring to fight. So for me, if I'm in a marriage, I'm all in. Like, I don't know about y'all, but there's a lot of people out there that I always think in the back of their mind, they have the idea that if it doesn't work out, I'm just going to get divorced. Divorce should not be an option in your mind, realistically, if you're getting married. Monogamy and being with one person for the remainder of your life, it's a beautiful thing. But if you have divorce going in your mind, going into a marriage, that's an internal thing, and you really have to figure that out. Marriage is a beautiful thing where two people can love each other for the remainder of their lives, but you have to really, really vet yourself, vet the person that's in your life, and really understand if that's what you want for the remainder of your life. Love is unconditional, right? Good times, they say rich or poor, good times and bad. Marriage, relationships, they're going to be a consistent roller coaster. Consistent. And it's not always going to be good, and it's not always going to be bad. Some relationships are all bad, or maybe there's some relationships that have like no problems, but I'm going to be honest, like your marriage and your relationships will be tested. They will be. And there's going to be tough times that come. And if you have that unconditional love and that willingness to put your ego aside, put your pride aside, and really work on the issues together, that's love, that's respect, and that's what's going to make it work ultimately. It's like, but two people do have to fight. So if you're trying your best and the other person is just not meeting you halfway, you've tried a million times to work on things, sometimes divorce is inevitable, very, very unfortunate. Like I said, you can't control what other people do, you can support. But I just think people take marriage for granted these days. Husbands, be there for your wives and lead by example for sure in the household. That's what this preaches in this book. And stuff like that. Let's check out Facebook. Let's see some comments. Let's see. All right, private page. Let's go to the public page. Cool. So we are about 40 minutes in. Like I said, I didn't want to cover everything here tonight because I don't have my other host. I don't have the other three guys of the team here tonight. So this would be an episode I'd like to cover more on. But I covered the fighter here, the husband, the father, and the friend. There's 4 of the 10 characteristics. Like I said, there's also the provider, the leader, the lover, the nurturer, the gentleman, and the son. So if you guys have not had an opportunity to check it out, Jason Wilson, The Man the Moment Demands. Like I said, I got the hard copy and the audio. Because y'all that are watching or listening to him, and if you know me, you know that I'm always learning through audio stuff because I'm always on the go. But I do think sometimes there's no replacement for a solid book too. And when you see and visualize things, in a book, you start to remember them a little bit more. But this is a great book, guys. If you're struggling with emotional incarceration yourself, and you want to learn more about these 10 principles, I highly suggest to pick up this book. In total, it is about 230 pages. 230 pages, front to back. Solid book. It's very easy to get through. I recommend this. Check out Jason Wilson too. Maybe some of his content on Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that. Emotional incarceration is a real thing, guys. We have to break these barriers and we have to break these walls down that are inside of us. That is ultimately how we become a comprehensive man. Because there's a difference between hypermasculinity and comprehensive man. Like I said earlier, hypermasculinity, we're so focused on being alpha, dominant, this, and being a leader, being dominant. It's good qualities to have as a man for sure. You don't want to be weak. You don't want to be, too soft for sure. You have to be able to be a respectable man in this life. But also, there's nothing wrong with being able to be vulnerable and be open, especially with those who trust you. And if you can't trust your friends in life, you can't trust your wife or your girlfriend, you can't trust your family. Ooh, some loud thunder out there. If you can't trust those people around you, who can you trust? So I would say if you can't trust people around you, you really need to reevaluate your friendships. If you're with a partner who you can't have these deep conversations with, and you've tried, I would say try to have these conversations with these people around you too. Don't just make assumptions that you can't have these conversations. if you've tried and you still can't, you need to reevaluate your friends. You need to reevaluate your relationship with your partner. And if you got family members around you, you have to reevaluate what you trust with them as well. So, but I would say there are good people out there. There are people that are going to listen. I'm very blessed to have solid friends in my life, and and have just solid people around me in general that you can have these conversations with in all areas of my life. To be honest, friends, family, relationship. These things are important, guys. So definitely check out this book if you haven't already. Let's break this barrier. Let's break this stigma, and let's break this idea of emotional incarceration, guys. So we got a few people joining in here. Hey guys, if you're watching, I appreciate y'all who are in on YouTube and on Facebook right now. Like I said, Rich couldn't make it in tonight. He had some plans, so that's why I had him as tentative. But ultimately, take this knowledge. We'll take it for what it is, Since we got a few people commenting, and I'm gonna probably wrap up this episode in a few minutes. I'm just gonna give you guys the heads up on the calendar. I talked earlier on it. Next week, we have a women's related episode. It's going to be a women's guest panel. They're going to be talking about essentially the importance of women in the household, different types of things. Here, it's going to be a solid episode. Be some married women with children, and then someone might just be single, no kids. But ultimately, just the perspective of the woman and in terms of the nurture and the supportive side of it in the household. Like I said, y'all women keep us grounded. Yes, man. And then 2 weeks, Matt Lee is going to come on, returning for the fourth time on this podcast to talk about Summer Shred in full effect. And then in 3 weeks, we will have After Hours Part 7. And the panel will be released soon, and the topic will be released soon as we put that episode together. That one will be at 9 p.m., by the way, guys, Eastern Standard Time for any people who are watching outside of the Eastern Standard Time zone, just a heads up. With that being said, appreciate you guys. I only saw Ray's comment here, so appreciate you. Let me check. I don't see any YouTube comments yet, but let me check Facebook again. Let's see. Just Ray's comment. Ray, what's up, brother? Thank you for commenting in tonight, brother. I appreciate you, my guy. So Facebook, YouTube, guys, smash that like button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the like. Like I said, we have Matt Lee coming up in 2 weeks. We got a solid panel next week for the women's episode. Me and Rich will be, moderating that episode. And then 3 weeks after Hours Part 7, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll let you guys know the After Hours Part 7 topic as we kind of craft that episode and put it more closer together. And I'll let you guys know the panel as it gets closer as well. So next 3 weeks, solid content. I'm excited. With that being said, guys, I'm just going to take off here tonight. You kind of to about 45 minutes. Take this information, guys. Trust me. If you're men out there and are struggling, shoot me a DM too. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to shoot me a DM. Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And let's talk about it because these are conversations we need to have to be better men in general, to be better men for those in our lives, and to lead life with intention through God's divine will. With that being said, guys, have a great night, great weekend. It's first day of spring too, guys. I actually didn't say that today, so hope you guys were able to enjoy your first day of spring. Let's have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys next week, and we'll see you for episode 206. Lock in for that one. Me and Rich will be moderating. We'll have a full women guest panel. Talk soon, guys. Have a good night.